Should you be selling your Bitcoin as its price continues to run up and break all-time highs? Should you be trying to time the 4-year cycle, the bull run, the bear market, the highs and the lows? Or should you be treating this not as an investment, but as a savings account? That is what I'm doing. I'm treating it as my savings account, which I swap my Aussie dollars for Bitcoin and I lock it away for a long period of time. I don't intend on selling. Maybe I intend on actually using it as a currency. So I've bought some things from Amazon. I've bought some things with my Bitcoin and I've spent it, but that's basically because I'm using it as money. So not only my savings, but as my spendings. And that's really worked out for me as its price continues to run up. And when you hold something for a long period of time, especially Bitcoin, it becomes worth more and more. Therefore, its purchasing power has increased. And that means everything around me is getting cheaper and cheaper. Why would I want to now swap that back into the Aussie dollars, trying to time the market and risk never having as much Bitcoin as I once did, which is constantly what's happening to people. People that bought it at $1,000 and it went all the way to $20,000 and they sold, they went, sweet, I've made a 20x, I'll pay the capital gain tax, I'll settle down, I've made a good bet. Now I'm going to hold US dollars or Aussie dollars. Now I'm going to invest in the S&P 500 with my profits, or silver or gold or real estate, or I'm just going to hold cash. And it's like, now look, they're probably going to revisit it now and go, oh, Bitcoin did continue to do 59% annual growth. Bitcoin did outperform everything else. I now can't even get one when I used to be able to buy multiple. I can never get the same stack I once had. And therefore, to me, they were not in profit. They were in profit for a very short period of time. And now with the opportunity cost, missing out on that run up to 120,000, I would say they are in negatives. They have missed such an opportunity. They could have continued to hold, and that's all they had to do. They didn't have to be smart. They didn't have to go home after a 9 to 5 and study the charts, study this, study that. All they had to do was buy and hold and treat it as a savings account. You don't spend your savings. And if you do, you only spend a small percentage. You never sell it all. You never trade it for something else. It's your savings, man. Bitcoin is not an investment. It's just an alternative money system, an alternative system as a whole. It is a chance to leave the dollars that can be printed and completely change your situation, completely change your future, completely give you a chance in a system that is so broken that we have now made a silent protest against it just by releasing Bitcoin to the world, people adopting Bitcoin, holding Bitcoin, spending their Bitcoin. And you want to be a part of that. I don't think it's time to leave. There's no point trying to go, the bull run might be coming to an end because every 4 years people do sell off, its price would trickle down. It's like, no, like, why would you want to risk it? You could sell right now. Like, I had a friend that sold, at 150,000 Australian dollar Bitcoin. And he said, don't worry, I'll time it. It's going to drop soon. It dropped down to 135,000. Perfect. Buy some more. Like, keep in mind, he never paid the taxes or anything legal. So he was just kind of trying to do it sneakily. Anyway, he goes, yeah, I'm going to buy. I think it's going to drop even more. We're now looking at the other day, it was nearly $190,000 Bitcoin. And he goes, oh, now I'm thinking you're not going to be able to get the same Bitcoin you once had. That's just happened this year. So how many people have to do that before they realize, hey, just hold this thing as long as you can, put off spending as long as you can, and reap the benefits. The longer you wait, the more you can reap. That's how Bitcoin works. It's code. It's all mathematically going up forever. Long term, 4-year minimum hold. And it's like, we don't need to be selling it back into fiat dollars. We're trying to leave that system. Stop feeding the old system. Stop feeding the old beast, and actually now join the truth money, truth economics, and have a chance at changing the world. Not only your world, but the people around you. It's time to leave the old system. Stop trying to sell profits and make money in the old system when it's like, we're here to change our circumstances, change our environment. And the only way we can do that is by continuing to hold Bitcoin as a savings account, to use the Bitcoin network, to use Lightning, to use all these layers and feed Bitcoin. And so it continues to feed us. There's no point trying to leave it. We found the solution to the money printer by capping the supply of money through Bitcoin. 21 million coins ever to be created, the only finite asset, the only finite money. This is the most scarce thing that you should be buying and holding and saving in that we've ever had. It's gone up 59% comfortably over the last 7 years straight. And if it continues to do so, we're going to see $1 million Bitcoin before you know it. And are you going to be happy that you sold it and then bought back in at 500K? Or are you going to be happy that you sold it and you bought it back in at $1 million? No, you've missed out on a huge opportunity. You're going to feel like an idiot. You're going to feel like an idiot that you were holding XRP and Ethereum and all Solana and all this crap when you just got to focus on the number one. There is one that is a number one. There's a reason that it's a $2 trillion asset, and no company or asset class that's ever reached $2 trillion has ever failed. So you're now predicting against history. And the reality is Bitcoin's here to stay. That's obvious. And it's going to continue to grow. You might not see a 10x overnight or 100x overnight like you hope in these other altcoins and these other things. But you don't need hope with Bitcoin. Like, Bitcoin is the hope, and it is going to grow regardless of what you think and regardless of your predictions and your charts and this and that. Bitcoin goes up, you should be holding it. It's going to do a lot better than holding cash. It's going to do a lot better than the S&P 500, than gold, than silver, than real estate, than everything. So you need to be holding Bitcoin, and you should not be selling. The only time you should ever be selling, this is what Zane Truscott said today, is if you're in debt and you need to clear some debt for stress relief, to take off that interest. If you're struggling to service the debt just using your wage and your cash, then maybe it's time to sell some Bitcoin. If you need to pay tax on it, do it properly. And so then you can service the debt, change your life in that way, becoming financial free and no longer bound by the chains of debt. That's something everyone should be doing. And then the next one is if you want to dramatically change your life. You know, if there was a place you've always wanted to move to with you and your family, or just you by yourself or whatever, if there's a house you always wanted to buy, if there was a car you always wanted to buy, if you want to dramatically improve your life and your lifestyle and your situation, then sell a percentage. It's up to you what percentage that is, whether it's 10%, 20%, 30%. If you need to sell some of your Bitcoin to dramatically improve your life, then you should do it. And that's up to you. But you should not be selling all your Bitcoin for a fancy car or all your Bitcoin for one house. I'm just saying a small percentage, you can spend it to improve your life, because we do have one life. Treat yourself that you have been holding this long. It's time to use that thing that you've put off for so long. And that's the only reasons. There's no reasons to be holding cash right now. Cash is so unpredictable. Like, what if CBDCs come in, suddenly you cannot even access your own dollars? You realize that your so-called credit and social score is not good enough to buy things like groceries and cars and houses. Like, look at China. That's what's happening in China. What if that comes to Australia? What if that comes to America? You don't want to be holding dollars, especially not in the bank. But I just think cash isn't even safe anymore. They can decide tomorrow that they're going to print more dollars and debase the currency that you're using. But they can also decide, hey, the paper dollars are no longer redeemable as money, and you have to be using CBDCs with an app on your phone that decides what you can buy and what you can't buy, what services you can have or what goods you can have and what goods and services you can't have. That's a scary thought, but that could happen, and that's extremely unpredictable. But it's also like, you know, that the dollar's losing a minimum of 7 to 14% in a Western country in purchasing power every single year. Sometimes it's worse and sometimes it's better, but these numbers are too high to keep up with your raise and to keep up with the rate of groceries going up and things like that. And so you need something that has a finite supply, a cap supply, something that's predictable, and that's Bitcoin. Why would you want to leave that system? There's no point leaving the new system to go back to the old that has been stitching you up for your whole life. Stop feeding it. You're just feeding the very beast that's been causing havoc against your life. So that's what I've got to say. If you're a crypto bro, do whatever you want, try and time the altcoin season, the bull run and this and that. But what I've seen in the last 3-4 years where I used to do crypto is if I just bought and held Bitcoin regardless of its price, even at its previous all-time high, I would be almost double up right now from its previous all-time high, but I'd be 6 or 7x up. my initial investment if I just continued to hold Bitcoin instead of getting distracted by altcoins. So that's a fact. There's no argument against that. The fact that I didn't do it is my own fault. The fact that I got into Bitcoin later is something that I will have to live with in that sense. But I feel so grateful and glad that I'm in Bitcoin now. Why would I want to leave it? I don't ever want to go back to altcoins or back to Aussie dollars. Now I understand that the whole system is rigged and broken, and Bitcoin is your best store of value over a long period of time. You don't have to trade it. You don't have to lose sleep over it. It's actually the most emotionally stable thing you can be buying and holding, because you can look at the 16 years of just consistent growth. It's like, to me, it's the least risky thing you can be holding. And because it's something that you can take into self-custody, it's something that you can actually lock up out of the system, that doesn't need a KYC, that doesn't need constant taxes and property taxes and maintenance and this and that. You can take it into self-custody and hold it for a long period of time and reap the benefits. So yeah, I wouldn't be selling your Bitcoin regardless of its all-time high, regardless of a bull run or a bear market. Just be buying as many Satoshis as possible, because one Bitcoin in 2010 is still one Bitcoin today. And that price has gone from 50 cents or $1 all the way up to 120,000 US dollars. So stack sats, do not stack fiat. And yeah, just continue stacking, guys. It is time for accumulation regardless of its price. Buy as much as you can and enjoy the dips. And talk to you in the next one. Cheers, guys. Bye.